The power of self-alignment. Before you chase success, before you run after goals, before you try to impress the world, you have to pause and ask yourself one simple but powerful question. Am I aligned with who I truly am? Because without alignment, your energy becomes scattered. You start working hard but not smart, moving fast but not forward. You find yourself drained, frustrated, confused, and constantly asking why things aren't falling into place. The answer is simple. When your mind, heart, and actions are not walking in the same direction, life becomes resistance. You can't plant seeds of confusion and expect a harvest of peace. Everything begins with alignment. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about honesty. It's about standing still long enough to face yourself, to listen to that voice deep inside that keeps whispering what you already know but often ignore. We live in a world that rewards speed, but speed without direction leads nowhere. Too many people are sprinting towards someone else's dream, trying to live up to standards that were never meant for them. But the truth is, until you align with your purpose, until you understand why you're here and what truly matters to you, everything you build will feel incomplete. When you are aligned, you don't need to chase validation. You don't need to beg for recognition. You become grounded, centered, and powerful in your own lane. You start walking differently because you know who you are. You start speaking differently because your words come from conviction, not confusion. You stop living for applause and start living from purpose. That's the power of self-alignment. It gives you peace in the middle of chaos, clarity in the middle of noise, and strength in the middle of uncertainty. Most people underestimate the importance of knowing themselves. They spend years studying the world, but they never study their own spirit. They know what everyone else expects from them, but they don't know what they expect from themselves. They move through life reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of living. But once you become aligned, truly aligned, everything changes. You start setting boundaries that protect your peace. You start walking away from things that no longer grow you. You start recognizing that your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. Alignment doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes real. You still face storms, but now you understand their purpose. You still experience setbacks, but you no longer see them as punishment. You see them as preparation. When you're aligned, every challenge becomes a teacher, every delay becomes direction, and every failure becomes foundation. You begin to see that life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. But self-alignment requires courage. It takes courage to look in the mirror and admit that you've been chasing things that don't fulfill you. It takes courage to let go of identities that were built to please others. It takes courage to slow down when the world keeps telling you to speed up. Alignment is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. It's about removing the noise, the distractions, the comparisons, and the expectations until all that remains is truth. And once you operate from truth, your life starts to move differently. The right people find you. The right opportunities unfold. The right energy surrounds you. Because when you are aligned, you become magnetic. You stop chasing what isn't meant for you, and what's meant for you starts finding its way home. That's when you begin to realize that alignment is not just about achieving. It's about becoming. It's not about how far you can go. It's about how true you can stay to yourself on the journey. So before you build your dreams, build your alignment. Because once you align your heart with your purpose, your thoughts with your vision, and your actions with your values, everything else, piece by piece, will start to fall into place. Silence the noise around you. There comes a time when the noise around you gets so loud that you can barely hear your own thoughts. Everyone has an opinion, everyone has advice, and everyone seems to know what you should be doing with your life, except you. The world today is full of voices, and the problem isn't that there's too much sound, it's that we've forgotten what silence feels like. We've forgotten that clarity is born in quiet, not in chaos. And if you truly want to grow, if you truly want to rise, then you must learn the sacred art of silence. Because not every voice deserves your attention, and not every sound deserves a reaction. The truth is, most people never realize how much external noise controls their internal peace. They wake up and immediately scroll through other people's lives, comparing, competing, doubting, and questioning their own worth. They start the day feeding on opinions, and by the time they look in the mirror, they've already lost themselves in someone else's reflection. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the decision to protect your mind from contamination. It's the power to say, I will not allow the outside world to dictate my inner world. When you begin to silence the noise, you start to hear something powerful. The voice within you. The one that's been whispering all along. The one that's calm, confident, and sure. That voice gets drowned out by the crowd if you don't guard it. And that's why silence isn't just a moment of peace. It's a weapon of clarity. When you step away from the noise, you begin to see what truly matters. You begin to see which people support you and which people only want to distract you. You begin to recognize which dreams are yours and which ones you've borrowed from others. Silencing the noise also means setting boundaries. Boundaries for your energy, your attention, and your time. You don't need to respond to everything that's said about you. You don't need to fight every battle. Sometimes your silence speaks louder than your defense. You must learn to protect your focus like it's your most valuable asset. Because it is. The more energy you spend trying to prove yourself to people who will never understand you, the less energy you'll have left to become who you were meant to be. Understand this: silence is not the absence of strength, it's the presence of discipline. It's having the emotional control to remain still while the world moves around you. When you master silence, you master yourself. Because silence teaches patience, it teaches awareness, and it teaches you how to listen, not to reply, but to understand. And when you start to understand yourself, your decisions become clearer, your movements become intentional, and your direction becomes unstoppable. In a world that thrives on attention, silence is rebellion. It's a statement that says, I will not be controlled by the noise. I will not measure my progress by the volume of others. I will move in peace while they move in panic. The ones who create real change in this world are not always the loudest. They're often the ones who know how to stay quiet, focused, and intentional. Because when your energy is preserved, your vision becomes sharper. When your mind is still, your purpose becomes louder. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply disappear for a while. Step back, reflect, reset. The world will still spin, people will still talk, but you'll be transforming in silence. When you return, you won't need to announce it. Your growth will speak for itself. Because the louder the world becomes, the more valuable your silence becomes. That's where strength is found. Not in reacting to everything around you, but in mastering the calm within you. So learn to be still. Learn to disconnect. Learn to honor your peace above their noise. Because the moment you silence what's outside of you, you begin to hear the truth that's been waiting patiently inside of you all along. Growth requires isolation. There will come a season in your life where you must step away from everything and everyone, not because you're better than them, not because you've stopped caring, but because you finally realize that growth cannot happen in noise, confusion, or comfort. True transformation begins in silence, in solitude, in the moments when no one is watching and no one is cheering. Isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. It's the sacred space where the old you starts to fade and the new you begins to emerge. Most people fear being alone because they associate it with emptiness. But what they don't understand is that isolation is not about being lonely. It's about being found. It's about finding yourself again after losing pieces of who you are to expectations, to people, to the pressure of always being available for everyone but yourself. In isolation, you meet yourself in the rawest form. There's no applause, no validation, no audience. Just you, your thoughts, your doubts, your dreams, and your truth. And it's in that space that clarity begins to rise. When you allow yourself to step away from distractions, You start to hear your own voice more clearly. You begin to understand what truly matters to you, what brings you peace, and what drains your energy. You start to notice patterns, habits that keep you stuck, relationships that slow you down, and routines that no longer serve your purpose. Isolation reveals what noise has been hiding. It shows you what you need to release in order to grow. Because sometimes the people and places that once helped you evolve can become the very things that hold you back when it's time to move forward. Growth is a lonely process because it requires sacrifice. It demands that you separate from the crowd long enough to understand your own rhythm. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly surrounded by others. It retreats into a cocoon isolated, still unseen. And while the world may forget about it for a while, transformation is taking place in silence. The same is true for you. When you enter that season of isolation, don't fight it, don't rush it, and don't fear it. Because what feels like isolation is often elevation in disguise. The moments when no one understands you, when people start to distance themselves, when doors close and distractions fade, those are not signs of loss, those are signs of alignment. Life removes what you no longer need so you can become who you are meant to be. You'll find that the deeper you go into solitude, the stronger your sense of purpose becomes. You stop needing people to validate your progress, you stop seeking approval, and you stop explaining your vision to those who were never meant to see it. In isolation, your vision sharpens, your faith deepens, your focus strengthens. You realize that growth isn't about proving others wrong, it's about proving yourself right. It's about keeping your promise to the person in the mirror. And once you start evolving in private, you begin to build something that no one can take away: inner strength. The kind of strength that doesn't shout, it radiates. The kind of confidence that doesn't need attention, it commands it silently. So don't be afraid to be alone for a while. Don't fear the distance that comes with discipline. The solitude that feels heavy right now is shaping you for something greater. You're not being forgotten, you're being refined. You're not being left behind, you're being lifted higher. Growth requires isolation because the next version of you cannot be built in the same environment that broke the last one. Sometimes you have to walk alone, not because no one cares, but because the path to your purpose is meant to be walked by you and you alone. Comparison is the enemy of clarity. There's a silent thief that robs people of peace, confidence, and focus every single day. It doesn't break in through the door, it slips quietly through the mind. Its name is comparison. It's the voice that whispers, "You're not doing enough. You're not good enough. Look at them, they're ahead of you." And before you even realize it, you start losing sight of your own journey because you're too busy watching someone else live theirs. The truth is, comparison doesn't just distract you, it blinds you. It keeps you from recognizing your own progress because your eyes are fixed on someone else's path. We live in a world that constantly measures worth through numbers, followers, possessions, and applause. Everywhere you look, there's someone showcasing the best version of their life, and it's easy to forget that you're only seeing the highlight reel, not the behind the scenes struggle. You start to believe that you're behind, that you've failed, that your efforts don't matter because they don't look like theirs. But what you don't see are the nights they cried, the fears they fought, the sacrifices they made when no one was watching. Everyone has a story, and no two stories are meant to unfold the same way. When you compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, you rob yourself of growth. You begin to chase goals that were never meant for you. You start moving out of pressure, not purpose. Comparison is the enemy of clarity because it clouds your vision with doubt. It convinces you that success has a single timeline, when in reality, everyone's timing is different. The flower doesn't envy the tree, and the moon doesn't compete with the sun. They both shine when it's their time. So why should you rush your season, trying to match someone else's rhythm? The danger of comparison is that it keeps you distracted from what truly matters, your own development. It creates an illusion that fulfillment comes from matching others instead of mastering yourself. When you focus too much on others, you start losing touch with your own potential. You begin to imitate rather than innovate, react instead of create. But clarity, the kind that brings peace and direction, only comes when your eyes are fixed on your own path. You can't hear your calling when you're tuned into someone else's frequency. Every time you compare yourself to another person, you're sending a message to your mind that who you are is not enough. And that message begins to shape your reality. But the truth is, you are not behind, you are becoming. Your pace is perfect for your purpose. Your story is unfolding exactly as it should. Stop allowing comparison to convince you that your journey is less valuable just because it looks different. What's meant for you will find you, but only if you stay aligned with who you are, not with who others want you to be. When you focus inward, something powerful happens. You start to notice your progress. You start appreciating how far you've come instead of obsessing over how far you have left to go. You begin to celebrate your small wins because you realize that every step forward is still movement. You stop competing and start creating. You stop seeking approval and start seeking purpose. Because once you understand that clarity comes from within, not from comparison, you free yourself from the weight of trying to prove anything to anyone. The truth is, your only competition is the person you were yesterday. Your purpose was designed uniquely for you, and no one can live it better than you. When you stop comparing, you begin to see clearly. You start to recognize your strengths, your gifts, and your direction. You move with peace instead of pressure. You build from authenticity instead of insecurity. And that's when life starts to align. The moment you choose clarity over comparison and growth over approval. Discipline builds destiny. Discipline is the invisible bridge between dreams and reality. It's what separates those who wish from those who work, those who start from those who finish, those who talk about change from those who become the change. Everyone wants success, but not everyone is willing to endure the process that creates it. Because discipline isn't exciting, it's repetitive, it's not glamorous, it's gritty. It's not about doing what feels good, it's about doing what's necessary even when every part of you wants to quit. Discipline is the quiet, uncelebrated commitment to keep showing up long after the motivation fades. Motivation may ignite you, but discipline sustains you. It's easy to be inspired for a moment, to feel fired up after hearing something powerful. But when that moment passes and the struggle returns, what carries you forward is not emotion. It's consistency. Discipline is waking up early when you'd rather sleep. It's choosing to study when you'd rather scroll. It's saying no to distraction, no to comfort, and yes to purpose. Every act of discipline is a declaration of who you're becoming. Each small decision to stay focused strengthens your foundation, brick by brick, habit by habit, until your destiny starts to take form right before your eyes. The truth is, destiny is not discovered, it's developed. It's built through the decisions you make daily, the habits you repeat, and the standards you refuse to lower. People often say they're waiting for the right time, but discipline doesn't wait for the right time. It creates it. Discipline turns ordinary moments into defining moments because it transforms effort into excellence. And the powerful thing about discipline is that it doesn't demand perfection, it demands persistence. You don't have to be the fastest, the smartest, or the most talented, you just have to be consistent. Over time, consistency beats talent when talent refuses to stay consistent. The ones who reach greatness aren't always the most gifted. They're the ones who refuse to stop. They understood that progress is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. That every late night, every sacrifice, every moment of discomfort is molding something within them. Discipline trains your mind to push past excuses, to reject mediocrity, and to embrace growth even when it hurts. Because the truth is, the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. You can recover from tiredness, but you can't recover from wasted potential. Discipline doesn't just build your destiny, it builds your character. It shapes the person you become when no one is watching. It teaches humility, focus, and resilience. It molds you into someone who can be trusted with success because you've earned it through consistency, not convenience. And that's why disciplined people move differently. They don't chase attention. They command respect. They don't talk about what they're going to do. They do it quietly, repeatedly, until their results speak louder than any words ever could. But understand this, discipline will test you. It will demand that you give up comfort, distractions, and sometimes even relationships that don't align with your vision. There will be days you feel alone, days you question if it's worth it, days you wonder why you're working so hard with no immediate reward. That's when you must remember destiny takes time. Discipline is not about instant gratification. It's about long-term transformation. You plant seeds today not for applause tomorrow, but for the harvest that comes after seasons of patience and perseverance. When you learn to master discipline, you begin to control your destiny. You no longer live by feelings, you live by focus. You no longer depend on motivation, you depend on commitment. And in that shift, something powerful happens. You stop being driven by the external world and start being guided by your internal standard. Discipline is not a cage that limits you. It's the structure that sets you free. Because when you discipline your habits, you design your life. And that design, over time, becomes the destiny you were always meant to live. Faith in your own timing, one of the hardest lessons in life, is learning to trust the timing of your own journey. We live in a world obsessed with speed, where everyone wants results overnight, recognition instantly, and success without process. People scroll through others' achievements and start to believe that they're behind, that life has somehow forgotten them, that they're stuck while everyone else is moving forward. But faith in your own timing means understanding that what's meant for you will not pass you by, that your path has its own rhythm, and that every delay, every detour, and every disappointment carries purpose you may not see yet. Patience is not weakness, it's strength under control. It's the quiet confidence that says, even if it hasn't happened yet, I still believe it will. Faith in your own timing means standing firm when others rush ahead, knowing that your pace is part of your preparation. Because sometimes, what looks like a delay is actually divine protection. Sometimes the doors that didn't open weren't meant to. Because if they did, they might have destroyed you before you were ready to walk through them. You have to trust that life isn't denying you. It's developing you. Every season has its purpose, and every purpose has its season. Too often we measure our lives by timelines we never created. We think by a certain age we should have achieved this or become that. But life doesn't move according to our deadlines. It moves according to our development. You can't rush the process and expect to sustain the promise. The seed doesn't bloom the day it's planted. It grows silently underground where no one can see it. That's what faith in your timing feels like. You keep showing up, you keep working, you keep believing even when there's no visible sign of progress. Because deep down, something inside you knows that your moment will come. The danger of impatience is that it pushes you into things before you're prepared for them. It makes you settle for less than you deserve because you're tired of waiting. But faith teaches you that waiting is not wasted time. It's preparation time. It's in the waiting that you grow roots strong enough to hold the weight of your future. It's in the waiting that you learn to rely on inner strength instead of outer approval. And when your moment finally arrives, you'll realize that the delay was not a denial, it was the making of your maturity. Faith in your timing also means letting go of comparison. You have to understand that your story is not supposed to look like anyone else's. Some people start early, some start late, but the moment you start is always the right moment for you. You can't compare the sunrise to the sunset. They both shine when it's their time. Life works the same way. Just because someone else is shining right now doesn't mean your light has dimmed. It simply means your dawn hasn't arrived yet. And when it does, it will arrive in full strength, no matter how long the night has felt. There's peace in surrendering to divine timing. It doesn't mean you stop working. It means you stop worrying. You keep planting, keep preparing, keep believing, knowing that the results are being arranged behind the scenes. When you have faith in your timing, you don't force things. You don't chase what isn't ready. You move with calm assurance, understanding that when something is meant for you, no delay, no denial, and no doubt can stop it. You trust that every struggle is part of your shaping, every waiting season is part of your wisdom, and every obstacle is part of your opportunity. Because the truth is, everything beautiful takes time. The stars don't rush to shine, the ocean doesn't hurry its waves, and the mountains don't apologize for how long they take to rise. You too must have the faith to stand tall, to be patient, to move at the speed of your purpose. Your time is not running out, it's being refined. Trust that what's meant for you is already making its way toward you, piece by piece, moment by moment, exactly when you're ready to receive it. When you evolve, everything around you does too. Life changes the moment you decide to evolve. Not when you wait for others to change, not when you beg the world to treat you differently, but when you finally realize that transformation begins within. The truth is, your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. When your mindset shifts, when your spirit rises, when your habits align with your purpose, everything around you begins to rearrange itself to match your new level. The relationships, the opportunities, the energy, even the atmosphere of your life, all of it adjusts to the frequency of your growth. You don't chase change, you become it. The mistake many people make is trying to fix their environment without first fixing themselves. They want better relationships but refuse to heal. They want peace but keep feeding chaos. They want success but hold on to the same lazy patterns that keep them stagnant. But evolution doesn't happen through wishful thinking. It happens through intentional transformation. You have to do the internal work. You have to confront your weaknesses, your fears, your habits, and your comfort zones. Growth demands honesty, the kind of honesty that shakes your soul. Because until you evolve on the inside, you'll keep repeating the same cycles on the outside. The beautiful thing about evolving is that you don't have to announce it, it shows. When you start operating from a higher mindset, people feel it. When you stop reacting to negativity, when you start choosing peace over pride, when you begin walking with quiet confidence instead of loud insecurity, the energy around you changes automatically. Some people will be inspired by your growth, others will be intimidated by it, but that's not your concern. Evolution comes with elevation, and not everyone can breathe at higher altitudes. Sometimes your transformation will require you to let go of people who refuse to grow with you, not out of anger, but out of understanding that your path and their comfort can no longer coexist. When you evolve, you begin to attract differently. What used to entertain you no longer satisfies you. The conversations that once interested you now feel empty. You crave depth instead of drama, peace instead of noise, purpose instead of popularity. That's how you know you're changing. You start aligning with things that feed your soul rather than your ego. And when your spirit evolves, your reality must follow. It's a universal law. Your energy creates your environment. When you raise your vibration through discipline, gratitude, and vision, life starts to mirror that elevation back to you. The people you meet, the doors that open, the opportunities that appear, they're all reflections of your internal shift. But growth doesn't come without resistance. When you begin to change, life will test your commitment. Old habits will call your name, familiar distractions will try to pull you back, and people will question why you've become different. That's because your evolution exposes the stagnation in others. The moment you start rising, you become a mirror that reveals what others refuse to face. Don't take it personally. Take it as confirmation that you're moving in the right direction. Growth is not meant to make everyone comfortable. It's meant to make you purposeful. And as you keep evolving, something extraordinary happens. You stop needing the world to validate you. You begin to understand that you are not chasing a better life. You're creating one from within. The same places that once drained you no longer affect you. because you've outgrown them. The same problems that used to break you now build you because you've learned how to stand taller. Your evolution becomes your protection. Your elevation becomes your peace. When you change how you think, you change how you live. When you change what you tolerate, you change what you attract. So understand this. Every time you grow, life adjusts to meet your new standard. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, faith over fear, purpose over pleasure, the world around you shifts in your favor. You no longer have to fight for change because you have become the change. That is the silent power of evolution. It transforms your world without asking for permission. And when you keep evolving, everything around you must rise to meet the version of you that refuses to stay the same. When you finally decide to focus on yourself, the noise around you starts to fade. You stop begging for validation. You stop chasing things that drain your spirit, and you begin walking in your purpose with quiet strength. You learn that peace is not found in the approval of others. It's found in the alignment of your actions with your vision. Every ounce of effort you pour into yourself becomes an investment in your future. Every small step of growth, every moment of discipline, every act of faith, it all builds the foundation for the life you've been dreaming of. So stop waiting for life to hand you what you deserve. Build it. Grow into it. Become it. Because when you focus on improving who you are, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself in your favor. The people, the opportunities, the blessings, they all start to find their way to you. That's the power of focus. That's the beauty of becoming. When you evolve, everything changes. When you rise, everything follows. So stay focused, stay faithful, and remember, once you choose yourself, everything else will fall perfectly into place.